recognize that as the iconic lead line of Jessica by the Allman Brothers? In this lesson, I wanted to talk a little bit about what a guitar solo is in the first place and what makes a good guitar solo. The answer to this question is usually pretty obvious depending on what the rest of the band is doing behind the guitar player. Whenever a guitar solo is happening, usually that's the main focus of the song at that given moment. If you take a listen to Jessica by the Allman Brothers, you'll hear that the guitar is clearly the main focus of the music at that time, and the rest of the band is playing to support the guitar solo. That's usually what separates a guitar solo from the rest of the song. Now the big question here is, what makes a good solo? And what's so beautiful about music is there isn't an objective answer to that. I think you could ask a whole bunch of guitar players and they could all give you very different answers. And it's so important to answer this question for yourself. I know for me, I really prize soul and feeling in a guitar solo. And like B.B. King, he's not a shredder by any means. He might just play 1 or 2 notes in a solo, but he plays them so beautifully and with so much feeling that to me is what makes a guitar solo great. Something memorable, something singable, something that you can tell was meant to connect with people. But of course, a lot of people have very different ideas around this. Some people love really technical, virtuosic solos. Some people love the exact opposite. And this is where I want to encourage you to spend time thinking about who your guitar heroes are. Who do you want to sound like? Because that will inform a lot of the decisions you make around what you want to practice and how you want to approach playing this instrument. So before we get any further, I want to throw an assignment at you. Brainstorm 5 solos that you love and spend a bit of time researching who the guitar player was. Maybe try to think about why you love that solo. What is it about it? I don't know. You tell me. I'd love to know. And I'll leave 5 solos that I love down below and why I love them. You can check it out. Music is all about what you hear and what you feel, so just spend time listening to music that you love and trying to figure out how it makes you feel. So again, some key elements to look out for are if the solo is memorable and singable. Jessica by the Allman Brothers is a perfect example of that. But I think another really important point to look out for is how the solo matches the feeling of the song. So this is usually the case in a lot of iconic solos. If you take a listen to something by the Beatles, that song is a beautiful love ballad, and the solo seems to fit that. Another example would maybe be Jimi Hendrix's Machine Gun, which is a really angry social commentary. And you can hear that in the guitar. The guitar is very angry and very in your face, and it fits that meaning perfectly. So let's take a listen to this track that I created. It's kind of a 60s Beatles sort of vibe. And if you like singing, you could maybe even spend a bit of time singing over the track. See if you can vocalize what kind of solos you'd hear over it. Or at the very least, start thinking about it. All right, so how does this track make you feel? Happy, sad? Is it uplifting? Do you have any other words you'd use to describe it? What kind of music does it remind you of? I know for me, I find there's something kind of uplifting about it, but at the same time, it still has that kind of cool and slick 60s vibe to it. But you could even try, like I was saying before, vocalizing some sort of solo over it. And even if it's not necessarily in pitch, that's not the most important part. Like, I'll show you what I mean. I'll even intentionally not quite sing on pitch, just so you can hear that it's more about internalizing the feel of it and the phrasing of everything. Something like that. And pay attention to keeping certain notes short, certain notes are longer, but I'm not really even really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just sort of feeling it in the moment. And that's the point. It's all about trying to focus on how you feel, and this is a skill that will develop over time. So be patient and have fun. It's just about exploring. And that's actually the next assignment I want to give you. Assignment 2 is to download the track, just listen to it, try to think about how it makes you feel. And if you even just keep those adjectives in mind, that will help inform, the way you approach making music. Try to vocalize some sort of melodies over it and think about how you'd approach soloing over it as best you can. And again, the key word, explore. There aren't any strict rules around when to solo and how long to solo for. Again, a lot of it is dependent on the music. If you listen to a bunch of songs, you'll probably hear some similarities in, what part of the song the solo might be in, but it's not always the same, and you might notice that too. And usually you can solo for as long as the band will let you, or as long as you want to. Now I want to throw one more assignment at you, keeping everything in mind that we've talked about. I want you to try playing the scale we've been talking about over the track, but I want to see what happens if you look for little melodies in it. What I mean by that is you could be playing the scale, and you play a note a few more times than you normally would. And then you could keep playing up the scale. And you're basically trying to look for little melodies in it. And this is really where the exploration begins. And there are no rules. I just think the sooner you start trying to approach the scale this way, the sooner you're going to start figuring out how to make music with it. So what you're going to do is download the track, and just like in the previous video, try to play the scale over it, because that's great practice. But the key point is to try to change the order of what you're playing a little bit and look for melodies and just have fun. So I'll end this video by doing that assignment for you so you can see exactly what I mean. And if you like anything I play, feel free to steal those ideas if you can. And leave a comment down below if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next lesson.